Next, let's talk about if statements and if-else statements. An if statement is kind of like a while statement, except it doesn't loop. So we can say similar to a while statement, but no loop. Whereas an if-else statement it offers you commands for both true and false conditions. So an if statement is essentially a while statement, but it won't loop. It'll check to see if it's true and then run the code, but it won't loop it. An if-else statement says, what do you do when if isn't true? So if it's true, we'll do this, but what if it's not true? What do you do? And you give it a second command. So we can say, offers commands for both true and false conditions. So let's write another example. And this time we're going to have a lot of brackets. Hopefully this will make it clear why the indentation is so important and why, again, fixed formatting would be your best friend. So let's start by writing a task main, starting our code, open and close your parentheses. And then, of course, we got to start with a curly bracket. And let's start with a while statement. Let's say while your bump switch is not pushed. While your bump switch is not pushed. Do you guys recall what to write if I want to say the sensor is valuing something? Yeah, we start with parentheses, we say sensor value. And sensor value is one of the few times we start with an uppercase on the first word. Don't ask me why, I just know it is. Sensor value, and then what is the sensor warning the value? Bump switch, put it in square brackets, lowercase b, bump, uppercase S, switch. And I want to say it's not pushed. So I could say equals 0, or I could say not equals 1. So exclamation mark, equal sign, 1. When it's not equal to 1, what do we want it to do? Remember, while statements do not have semicolons. They have brackets. Now, in this while statement, I would like to introduce an if statement. If, and then it becomes just like a while statement. And I want to say if my line follower is higher than 2,500. Let's say greater than or equal to 2,500. So the line follower is also a sensor, so we'll also say sensor value. So if sensor value, square bracket, line follower, close your square bracket. How do I say less than or equal to in robot C? You use the less than sign followed by the equal sign. I'm sorry, we meant to say greater than. I apologize. Greater than or equal to. That is just nothing. Don't ignore that. Greater than or equal to 2,500. And then close your parentheses. And like while statements, there's no semicolon, just brackets. Make sure you're indenting these statements. It makes it easier to read. And I want to say when that happens, when the line follower is higher than 2,500, let's turn our LED on. Turn, capital LED, capital O, on. And then what do we call our LED standardly? Green. Some of y'all have it yellow or red because you're OCD like me and you're using a red LED, but no big deal. So then I'm going to close my if bracket. And I'm going to write an else statement. Now, here's the thing about else. Think Boolean logic. This is either true or false. If this is true, do this. Else, do something else. Do I need to write out the other statement? No, but some of you guys are when I'm watching you write your code. But there's no reason to. If this isn't true, then this is true. That's what we call Boolean logic. So You don't need to write anything here. You just write else. An else statement needs to be paired with an if statement, or Robot C will not understand what it's talking about. It looks at the else and compares it to the if before and says, okay, all other conditions. So, again, like our if statement, we open a curly bracket, no semicolon. I'm going to say else turn LED off. Capital O, F, F, green. Semicolon. Next, we need to close our else statement with a curly bracket. Then, we need to close our while statement. Then we need to close our task. This is what I mean when I say fixed formatting is your best friend. If you noticed, you opened 4 brackets. You opened 3 here, you closed the first one, then you opened a 4th, you closed it, close, close. Do you see how, can you imagine how inconvenient it would be if all these brackets were lined up here? If you hit fixed formatting and it dents it all out for you nice and neat. Go ahead and add yourself a piece of pseudocode here at your else statement and say, this is assuming, or say, if the if statement is untrue. If the if statement above, I should say, if this if statement above is untrue. That way you can look back at your notes and see what you're writing.